they asked me how old my daughter was and when her next birthday was. She was due to turn 3 years old that September. Bearing in mind this was May, and they suggested I bring her birthday party forward. They told me they could only see scarring from the surgery. There was nothing wrong. But I pushed at that point. I'd learnt to trust my judgment a bit more. And I had my third CT guided biopsy at that point, and a bronchoscopy. And they both confirmed at that point the lung cancer had sadly already returned. I still thought there was hope and a chance of surgery and them doing exactly what they'd done before and just getting it all this time. And they had to sit me down and explain that actually surgery was no longer an option, and they'd given me a terminal diagnosis at that point. So they started me on a course of chemotherapy. It wasn't expected to cure me, and when they were giving me the information around the chemotherapy, I was also they asked me how old my daughter was and when her next birthday was. And I knew at that point, the future just wasn't looking good. That was probably my lowest ever point. At that point, when I was told, there's no hope, Lucy, we're just going to try and give you a couple more months with your daughter so you can say your goodbyes, was essentially the message I took away. Started the chemotherapy. I was on a combination of cisplatin and gemcitabine, which I know are still used, but probably not as commonly now as they were back then. There weren't many treatments available back then, so you almost had an off-the-shelf chemotherapy, which is what I was given. We got to treatment 5 and I just couldn't tolerate any more, and I then went for my scan to see how I'd responded. And at that point, the doctors were astounded to see I'd had total response to the chemotherapy. They couldn't see the lung cancer at all in my chest at all when they did the CT scan, and they were amazed, but they were also very, very guarded. And I remember vividly them sitting down and saying, it's gone. And they said, but don't get excited, it's going to come back, Lucy. Whatever reason, that cancer has absolutely been resolved. It has stayed away. At the moment, I'm still on yearly scans. 10 years later, I still feel very looked after, very monitored, very, very well cared for. But, you know, I still have scan anxiety before every single scan. Every time I get a cough, I always stop and think and assess the cough. Is this like my old cough? Is this like the lung cancer cough? The fear of it coming back never goes away, and I don't think it ever will leave me because of the position I've been in. My oncology team, as I said, are fabulous and can't rate them high enough, and they give me lots of reassurance that, you know, if my lung cancer does ever return, which they've always had to say is a possibility, because when you're stage 4 they can never say it's been a, you know, you're clear for life. What they've told me and they've explained to me is how treatments have advanced over the last 10 years since I was diagnosed. There's so many more targeted treatments that are available, and they're really confident that if my lung cancer ever came back, I'd have this whole wealth of treatments available to me. So life now for me is a million miles away from that person who was sat in a hospital bed alone and crying. My career has gone on leaps and bounds. You know, I feel like I'm doing what I always should have been doing. My daughter's grown up. She's an absolute joy most of the time because she's a teenager now. But, you know, fills me with pride every day, and every birthday we go through, every Christmas we go through, I just thank my lucky stars I'm still here to enjoy it with her.